Today, we will speak on the science of chance, luck, and fortune. If we look in front of us, we have the definition of chance, which is defined as a possibility due to a favorable combination of circumstances. So there are a couple things we should mention. First, we have this selection of a favorable combination of circumstances. And we must also define what they mean by possibility, which we have a little bit further down here. Capability of existing or happening or being true. Existing, happening, or being true. So they're talking about it is possible for something to exist, happen, or be true, which is mostly taking place in the physical realm, versus, the astral world or the emotional plane. So this is something that can be proven to exist, something that is happening, or something that is true. So then when we look at favorable combination of circumstances, what will make circumstances favorable? Right? So let me just clean this up a bit. So if we're talking about a combination of anything, a favorable combination, now we're dealing with mathematics. When we're dealing with circumstance, now we're dealing with an event or a moment in time. So we can call a favorable combination, we would just call it advanced mathematics, just to simplify it. So what they're saying is advanced mathematics occurring at a particular moment in time. So when a person is increasing their chances at something, that's another way of saying you're applying advanced mathematics. Mathematics that has the ability to alter events in your favor. Now let's continue to define. Let's go down a little bit. Now let's look at this definition. Number 2. An unknown an unpredictable phenomenon that causes an event to result one way rather than another. So this is also saying an unknown and unpredictable phenomenon. So we know that we're talking about force if we're talking about phenomenon. So a unknown and a unpredictable phenomenon or force that causes an event, as we know, a moment of time, to result one way rather than another. And then we have similar words such as fortune and luck. And when we look at the definitions of fortune and luck, we will see that the definitions are similar. Also, if we look up the definition of phenomenon, it says any state or process known through the senses rather than by intuition or reasoning. We can say intuition, that represents the emotional plane, and reasoning represents the mental plane. So if we're talking about the senses, that's another indication that we are talking about the material world. That can be proven through the senses. So not something that somebody heard or someone's opinion. Now we're more so talking about the objective reality versus the subjective reality. Now, let us continue to define. And as we see, there's a reason why they have this image here of this woman who we would consider something like a witch or fortune teller, because she is crystal ball gazing. And we also see the money sign here. So we know that her interests are based in the material plane. Because most of the time, when we are dealing with fortune, we're dealing with, if we go back up, dealing with shooting of the dice, as we see here. Casting a lot, like a natal chart. Throwing stones or casting stones. All these will be forms of chance, fortune, or luck. Because the reason why you would be doing these things, same thing as doing a tarot reading, any type of divination. You're doing this to take a peek at your personal fortune. And we're going to look up the definition of fortune so that we can tell the difference between fortune and luck. Now, here is the definition of luck. It says your overall circumstances or condition in life, including everything that happens to you. And the synonyms are destiny, fate, fortune, lot, portion, and circumstances. So now when we were speaking about chance, it's more so speaking about altering moments in time. However, when we look at luck, now we're speaking about your overall condition in life and your overall circumstances. So you can say chance is more so the immediate version of luck. So chance, you can say, is immediate, while luck is your universal or overall circumstances. So when we call a person lucky, sometimes we may be referring to, okay, a person got lucky. But to consider a person lucky, that means that's their overall condition versus a particular moment in time. And that's why we see this clover here, representing a good luck charm. In the last video, we looked up charm. And we know charm represents a magical device. Which is just another way of saying advanced mathematics. Advanced mathematics in the form of a magical device. Because certain devices, herbs, plants, planets, so on and so forth, are magical devices. And those before us have discovered these magical devices. So if we continue on, the definition of luck too is the same as chance. Now let's see what they say about fortune. As we see, the definition is also similar with chance. An unknown and unpredictable phenomenon that causes an event to result one way rather than another. So we see that was the same definition as chance. Now, if we look at fortune number 2, the definition is a large amount of wealth or prosperity. So when we consider a person fortunate, we are considering this person wealthy, especially in a material sense, once again. Now, if we look at the definition of fortune number 4, this has a similar definition of luck. Your overall circumstances or condition in life, including everything that happens to you. So now fortune is a combination of luck and chance. So a person that is fortunate, or a person's fortune or lot, not only contains their overall luck, but also their ability to take chances, and also the probability that those chances will be successful. All this is predetermined, as we see. Now we must get into the definitions of destiny and fate so that we can understand what it means for something to be predetermined. And here is the definition of destiny. An event or a course of events that will inevitably happen in the future. So now, destiny is not limited to just one event. It can also be defined as a course of events. A course of events would then represent a sequence. And when a sequence of events occur, now we call that more synchronistic. Right? That's how we would define synchronicity. Synchronicity isn't just one thing, it is a course or sequence of events that seem as if they are inevitable. And that's why destiny has a definition of karma, which is defined as the effects of a person's actions that determine his or her destiny in his or her next incarnation, which then defines predestination, previous determination as if by destiny or fate. So what we are seeing is all of these things work together because they are a part of a sequence. You're going from chance to luck to destiny. You're going from a course of events to your overall luck to being able to alter moments in time. Another definition of destiny, the ultimate agency regarding as predetermining the course of events, often personified as a woman. So it is called a ultimate agency. That's just another way of saying force, the ultimate force, regarded as predetermining the course of events, right? And some people define that as God. That's what some people would define as God. God is the one that is in control of a person's karma because God is the judge, right? God will judge on the day of judgment to see who goes to heaven or hell, so on and so forth. So you can say that will be a person's destiny or fate. You can say what happens not just to them when they are living, but also what happens to them in the afterlife if we take the religious route. And that's why they're bringing up Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, so on and so forth. So if we look at the definition of fate as we see it is correlated to fate here, we also see occult supernatural as a definition of destiny, which says supernatural forces in events and beings collectively. So now destiny represents, in this case, the collective. So what others are determining as God, others will determine as the collective or the all. So that represents not just forces, but also events. And not just forces and events, also beings as one collective called the all. So that is the occult definition. So religion says God, then the occult says the collective. The collective because each one of us has the God particle, which is why we have the ability to alter chance, luck, fortune, destiny, and fate in the first place. So it's either one being that's doing this, which is the definition of destiny. Number two, the ultimate agency. But then we get into the occult, which represents supernatural forces. So now it's more of a collective instead of a singular definition. So it all comes down to personal preference at this point, because we're looking at things mathematically, scientifically, but also taking it to the occult and the supernatural and seeing that we are all saying the same thing. We're just using different words to define what we have all experienced one way or another. We have all experienced chance, luck, destiny, fortune, fate, especially karma. So whether we use different terminologies and words, we have all experienced these supernatural forces and events and beings collectively. So we all know these things to be true, even if we come to a different conclusion as to how it is true. And as we see with fate, it is essentially the same definition as destiny, something that is inevitable, an unavoidable event, something that cannot be avoided, such as death. Death, you can say, is a predestination, but also life, because that's what reincarnation, as we see here, in the next incarnation, so reincarnation. So life is just as part of death, because without death there is no life, without life there is no death. So we are predestined to reincarnate until we make the decision to not do so, which is the point of Gnosticism, to stop the cycles of reincarnation. That's what the Buddha came to reveal, how to stop reincarnation. Because that's what they define as doom or doomsday, the end of the world, day of reckoning, the day of resurrection. All that just represents the time of incarnation based on a person's karma. Sometimes it's pleasant or sometimes it is unpleasant. So we did all this just to show the similarities and also the differences, so that when you are going about doing your magical workings, you don't confuse chance with luck. Now you know the difference between when you are taking a chance, otherwise altering moments or a moment in time, versus altering your entire luck, which is your overall circumstances, which then gets into destiny, which is events that are inevitable to occur based on a person's karma, which can then lead to a course of events or a sequence of events, versus personal events. Because we see these same things are defined in magical terms or spiritual terms: law of attraction, manifestation, meditation. This is what you would do to alter your chance. When you do a mantra, when you pray, when you do a incantation, all that can be defined as a form of chance. When we evolve into luck, now we're not just speaking about changing a particular circumstance, but changing yourself as a whole. Now, this is what they mean by DNA transformation, or going through the chakras, chakra work, shadow work, because you're doing that to change your overall circumstance instead of a particular moment in time. Then that leads us to destiny, which is a sequence of events. So once your transformation becomes a sequence of events, meaning you keep on putting in the work. So now it's just not one moment in time, it is a continual effort, which is called the great work. It is a continual effort. And that's what alters a person's destiny or fate, because that predetermined event or course of events will be based on your luck, based on your shadow work, based on the daily rituals, the daily magic that you're putting in. Because now it's not just about what you can do in a moment, now it becomes what you can do in a lifetime. And now that lifetime can then be extended into multiple lifetimes. And when that one lifetime is extended to multiple lifetimes, then that's when people no longer need to reincarnate, because now your lives are no longer separate. Now everything is continuous, and that's why it's called a collective. You realize that everything is you, and you are everything. So at that point, there's no need to reincarnate, because you have broken through the spell of thinking everything is separate. You have brought everything back to the original way, which is the collective of all things, good, bad, and ugly, because we are a part of all of those things. So that's why we are mastering ourselves. So we're not just mastering the material plane, we're not just mastering life, we're not just mastering success, we also are mastering the internal. So we're not just mastering the external, we also are mastering the internal. And once both of those are mastered, that's when destiny is altered, because it becomes one continuous sequence. And with that, I bear peace. 93, 93, 93.